Good evening, TDN listeners and viewers, and of course, the audience of this week in interview. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Interview with your host and guide, Anthony Drago. It's a pleasure to be with you as always. And those of you who come back every Wednesday night, thank you for coming. Obviously, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to make this week in the interview part of your routine. And if tonight happens to be the first time that you hearing or listening or viewing this weekend interview, welcome to you. I hope that you like us enough that you too will become a regular listener to this weekend interview. This weekend interview, we aim to provide you with mostly information, factual information, and some entertainment. And we do that by uh, just having conversations with very interesting people, very accomplished people, people who have passion for what they do, people who have gained experience because of what they do or their qualifications. I have these conversations and I share those conversations with you. And this is one of the highlights of my time here because I get to have an hour long conversation with folks that in my normal life we may not even run in the same circles. And it's always great sharing those conversations with you because I think we all learn. You've been listening to me in Dominica on DigiPlay Channel 59, RVR Jams. They carry this weekend interview live. Welcome to you. How is it in Dominica? It's starting to get warm in New York City where I'm located. Tell me if it's the same thing where you are. In Toronto, in the Toronto market area, we have online radio SBE carries this weekend interview live as well. T- GTM Radio, Global Talk and Music Radio for Brother Angelo Allen carries this weekend interview live as well. And if you can watch us, you watch us on YouTube, on Facebook, and any one of those social media platforms. This weekend interview has its own YouTube channel as well as TDN Radio has a YouTube channel. And you can, if you're watching us on any one of those, give us a like and make a comment, subscribe, so you wouldn't miss any of the great programming that we have going on TDN Radio. What are you up to this summer? Do have you decided what you're going to do? When are you going to go on vacation? Do you have some young people in your life or not so young people who you have to throw your eyes on, whether full time or once in a while? I want to encourage you to buy a book from a local Dominican author. We know we have Dominica is just chock full of talented writers. When we did the literary festival last year, we had over 70. Can you believe that? 70 Dominican writers registered. And all of their work is just so great. So I always say, but I encourage you, if you have somebody, a nephew, a niece birthday that's coming up, buy them a book from one of the authors in Dominica. I will ask Sam to put in the chat there's I don't want to put it wrongly, but like Celia Sorrento, I know maintains a list of all the Dominican actors, authors and writers as much as possible, and so that's a good place to go to find out about the works, and then that can from there you can jump off to get the products. But they're wonderful, wonderful works, and you can go there and get a copy for yourself, for your niece, for your nephew, for your loved one. Put a couple books on your coffee table, a great conversation starters, and so on. All right, but tonight is our Green MAGA series. We continue in the Green MAGA series. Green because we're talking about agriculture, and our objective with this product is to make agriculture green again, great again, make agriculture great again. So that's our green MAGA. Yeah, so you see the link on there is Nature Island Literary Festival on Facebook. If you go there, you will get a whole list of authors and writers that you can purchase from. Of course, you have the Flying Crapo Collective, which is a an anthology of they actually have they're on their third volume of fantasy series, mixing our folklore with technology and fiction. And there's some beautiful stories in there. I encourage you to check that out. All right. So I was saying that tonight we're continuing our conversation in terms of agriculture, our sustainable food production, sustainable agriculture, and our food production. And my guest, when we do that, is invariably Pastor Adrian Banis. And so let's bring him up on the stage. He's no right now. He's no stranger. He's home people. If it's the first time you're seeing him, Pastor Adrian is one of the most enterprising entrepreneurs in the Caribbean, and he has a farm, a family. He and his family runs a farm in Castlebruce, and and it's just when you go on that farm, most people report they're just fascinated with the amount that he does. He does some value added in terms of packaging and processing, and he doesn't just talk the talk. He actually does it, and he has his produce, and he is. Uh, we've spoken about regenerative agriculture. We've spoken about agri-tourism. We've spoken about community tourism. He just runs the gamut, and he travels to Grenada, to Trinidad, to Anguilla, St. Lucia, all over the place, and everybody is so enamored and impressed with what he's doing, and he is so free in sharing the information. So, without much ado, let me tell you, welcome back to this weekend interview, my brother. It's a great pleasure to have you back.
Thank you very much, comrade, according to these guys in the past. How are you doing? I see you
I'm
looking
do,
bright, man.
I'm doing well. I'm doing
Ever
well. Thank
looking young.
you too. Yeah. His broad smile. I mean, I'm introducing you as a practicing farmer and entrepreneur, and it's the middle of the week, and you look so fresh. So
Yeah.
you must be eating what you produce and staying young.
Yes, man. Boy, I'm telling you, I'm really going back to eat what I grow because I realize this is what sustainable agriculture is all about. Eating what you grow, eating fresh fruits and
Hmm.
vegetables. And this is really my focus right now to ensure that I do not sell all what I produce, but I also eat what I produce. So I want to say welcome to all of you who are listening, wherever you are. You on Facebook, you are on whatever social media channel that you are on, or you are in your house, you are in your bedroom. I want to say welcome. And as we continue to share with you, and we really want to make agriculture great again because agriculture have been placed in Dominica. We usually say agriculture is placed on the back burner,
Mm.
which means that agriculture is not being seen as something of worth or something of value. But I always say people always eat and they will need food to eat all the time. And this is the best place you can invest. You invest in agriculture, in food production, in meats, um, like chicken, and we need to eat our own grown chicken. We have been saying that for years upon years. I remember that's when we had the banana boom in the 80s, and Miss Charles said, diversify, and everybody used to laugh, Miss Charles. Diversify, people used to laugh at. And then when we lost the banana industry, people recognized if I had planted tree crops or plant something else, I would be better off right now. Right now, you have to go and start all over again.
Hmm. Hmm.
So do not allow yourself to reach a place where you have to start. But in what you need to do is to use whatever you have. If you have an acre, you plant a few trees, you plant your backyard, you make sure that you have food to eat because in the times that we are living in, you can see Trump now is guarding the area where the oil is passing. So a lot
Hmm.
of people now they are concerned because they can have gas. But we in Dominica, I want to say we are privileged. We are privileged because we can still go chop some wood, come and light our fire. We can use coal and light our fire and cook. And we will go back to Buzai, but there are certain things we can use the sun, and then we can generate electricity. Now we have geothermal. So tonight I want to say, as we share some thoughts with you and we look at the importance of agriculture in the economy, and that is very important. We are not going to longer put it on the back burner. We are going to see how we can help to expand agriculture and make it something viable, something good, something that we can say yes, we can leave for the generation to come. That is so important.
Yeah, and really, really great introduction to the topic because our focus is on the importance of agriculture in the economy, and I mean there's so many layers. Uh, Somebody would think it's obvious, right? If you're living in a place where you don't have good soil, or you have drought condition or desert condition where you cannot really grow your crop, or for whatever challenge you have, maybe because of past habits, your soil is contaminated and it's poisoned, or you may be living in a flat area, and when the tide calls, you get a storm, it brings in the seawater, and so your soil is has too much salt in it. Whatever reason it is that you cannot plant your food, that should be the only reason why people are not attempting to grow their own food. That's my opinion, right? That I don't care if you say, well, I can grow bananas and make money and use the money to buy food. There was a time when people used to do that. We used to value macaroni and the flour products and all those things above our locally produced food. And so people will say, I'm planting bananas, selling it, and I'm going to buy macaroni, and I'm going to buy flour to make dumpling, I'm going to buy rice. And hopefully we are much more enlightened right now, because we should understand that the closer we eat to where the food is produced, is the healthier the food is and the better our bodies can digest and use the food. So we're going on that premise. The premise that the objective is that every nation, every family, every person should be able to feed themselves, right? So that's one layer. Agriculture as part of the economy, because if you're feeding yourself uh, from what you grow, from what your neighbor grows, then that gives you extra cash, extra spending income that you can now go and pay for your light bill. You can buy a car, you can buy clothes, you can send your kids to school. Otherwise, you're spending that money buying food. So there's that aspect of the economy. So feed yourself, free up some funds so you can survive. Otherwise, those are the simple areas, Adrian. And of course, if you take it to a macro level, where you are talking on a national level, where Dominica produces its own food, it frees up Dominica's money now to buy an MRI machine, to buy some other machine to put in the hospital, to buy equipment to put in the schools, because guess what? Dominica is not using its money to import rice and import chicken and import all of those things. And so the next level is that if we feed ourselves and we become self-sufficient, the next step is to make enough to sell. So not only we saving money, we actually can generate income. So big picture I just spoke about, the 20,000 feet looking down to the individual in Dominica, who right now, because I mean, it's not a criticism, but when I visit Dominica, it looks like there's a lot of need, a lot of people, um, they need, because there doesn't seem to be a lot of activity, a lot of opportunity for people to make money to be able to support themselves. So you correct me if I'm wrong, but if we have to make agriculture great again, how do you see it impacting the economy, both on an individual level and on a community national level?
Well, this is something I always share with persons. The persons that are working on a monthly basis, they are not the one that spend the money in the economy because their money is already tied up and they have to wait for a whole month.
Right.
If you go back to the 80s, you would recognize that the farmers were the one that had the economic boom because
Mm.
every fortnight the farmers would get their pay packet and then they would go and shop. They would buy vehicles, would shop. So there was a big turnover in the economy, and then the economy was thriving. And I remember to help boost the economy even bigger and greater. So we moved to a individual level where you plant, you grow the food, you sell it, you get your money, you buy um groceries and whatever you want to buy. Then the shopkeeper receive it. When the shopkeeper receive it, then the bank also receive. So it was a whole activity, economic activity that was going on. And then I remember you, Prime Minister Eugenia Charles, she put a banana levy of I think 3% on every pound, and that did not dent us as farmers because once you take the levy, we still had enough for us to shop and for us to do what we have to do, and plus we had enough to save in the banks and in the credit unions and take loans and repay. So that tells you how important agriculture is to the economy. And with that, so many people send their children to high school, to primary school, to high school, to university. I remember parents used to say to their children, when you go to school, do not go and plant banana because it's too hard.
Right.
You remember that?
Hmm.
It's too hard. And so, and that put some kind of negative connotation in our mind, saying about,
Hmm.
boy, we always stay in, we always this. But those of us that stay in it, up to today, I am farming for over 40 years, almost 50 years. I am telling you, the agriculture has always been my mainstay, and that has carried my home. I build home, I buy vehicles, I send my children to school, they go to university, and I am that's what I'm living on. I mean, it's so good when I come out in garden and I work, I plant, and I come and I have a tanya to eat. I didn't go and buy a tanya.
Hmm.
I have a fig. I have a dashin. Right now, I have some dashin, and my God, this thing is so dry because I have a swamp.
Hmm.
And I plant dashin in the swamp, and it is so dry. And then you're enjoying, like you have an orange, you're just enjoying the fruit of your labor. And not just that, I realize also what I've discovered is when you are involved in agriculture, you always make money. You can make money every day, every day, every hour you can make money because people always want stuff.
Yep.
Because I'm not enough. So that's why I want to encourage our farmers in Dominica, and I've been preaching and I've been encouraging them. Let us plant. Let us come together. If I alone cannot meet the market demand, 10, 15 of us can come together and we can meet the market demand. But you know how it is with I want to use the word black people. We always think, well, somebody trying to make it on you, somebody trying to use you. But I strongly believe that we have to move away from that mindset and see how we can work collectively. So if you have, I have, all of us have, the community will grow, it will develop, people will be happy. You're going to reduce crime, you're going to reduce all the different things that are happening there. You're going to reduce it. When I see how you have how much? 50 persons working on the roadside in the NEP. And they are all working in one block. More than half sitting down. And I say, man, if these people could just go to their garden and work, because while they are working in the NEP, you seeing all the lands there, they're empty.
Yeah.
They are empty all over. I always say, I remember Good Hope used to be a place that used to provide a lot of yams, ginger. When you want the yams, just go to Good Hope. You want ginger, go to Good Hope. And today, just a handful, cassava, foreign.
Hmm.
The other I met the lady from Good Hope, and I told her, Vera, and I know she always having foreign. I said, you are foreigner? Foreign? How's that make that finish? You have
Wow.
Toloma. So that tells you we have to come back, because if it's not that, we will lose all our indigenous plants or indigenous food. And what I've realized, also not just planting food, but we grow healthy food.
Right.
Because when you look at Gromoxone, when we used to use Gromoxone, you could never have Tanya. Now you stop using Gromoxone, Tanya growing all over the place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Tanya grows all over the place because you are not no longer using Gromoxone. So Gromoxone affecting the soil, and
Mhm.
when the soil is being affected, it affects the plants.
Yep. And then you eat it,
And right, so it will always affect us.
your health. So the health outcomes are something terrible. So all how we look at it, a place like Dominica that has such an advantage in growing its own food. Agriculture has tentacles that touch every aspect of the economy, Because
Yes,
let's take the Garmoxone, for example. The active ingredient in Garmoxone is paraquat.
right.
Paraquat is a banned substance. It is a known carcinogen. And so when we see that on average, over two people, about four people die. I think it might be higher now. The last time we checked, per week of cancer.
Wow.
Because if you have 52 weeks in a year, and we have over 200 cancer deaths in a year, when you look at it, that is four people a week,
Yeah.
and that is from a few years ago. And things like paraquat, and there was a Vidate, and there was some other ones that we used to inject for nematodes
Furadon.
and those
You had
things.
Furadon. You had Mocap.
The
Then
mocap.
there was one that you call and that the guys who used to work in Aldrex, they used to
Right.
inject in the banner, and because of that, I know guys they never made children.
Yeah. And,
The
and and
guys that
all
was working in the Aldrex.
and all of those studies were done. It was banned in a lot of the European and North American
Yeah,
countries, and they used to send it down to us. And so again, it comes back to, because at the time our agriculture was organized more around an export monocrop, bananas,
yeah,
you know and so we wanted to maximize the yield of bananas, and so we would use chemical fertilizer, chemical pesticides, chemical weedicides, and it would just kill us. I remember, you tell me, you have your knapsack on your back spraying, and the wind blow,
right.
and it blows this thing directly into your face. You
Yeah,
breathe it
yeah.
in.
Breathe it in. Yeah,
Yeah. The knapsack has a leak. It wets your clothes. You stay in that wet clothes for the whole day. You sun dry it, rain fall, wet again. You stop and
I,
eat. You don't even
you
well
didn't,
wash your hand, and you're
right. You
eating.
didn't wash your hands.
And, and so the reason why I'm bringing that up is to say that our the our practices
Yeah,
and our thoughts about food production has evolved. So the young person that used to listen to their parents, um, if you don't go to school, you go by the bay and send stone behind whatever it is, or you become a farmer. It was a natural reaction because of the trauma that our ancestors experienced on the plantations. That it's only natural that we would have a mental aversion towards the soil, right? But I think enough time has passed on it. There's enough knowledge now that we can counteract that trauma with proper education, proper information, and say, you know what? Yeah, our ancestors were brutalized, but guess what? They managed to take that same land, the same land that they were brutalized on. They end up triumphant because they were able to secure that land and pass it on to us so we can feed ourselves. And and so the our health should get better because now we know exactly what to put in the soil and what not to put in the soil so that our food is healthier. We our chicken is a wide open industry in Dominica, because most of our chicken is still imported, right? So if somebody goes into chicken production, there's a whole market right there. You just set up yourself on a Saturday or whatever it is. You go, you sell your chicken, or you set it up, and folks know if they come by your farm, they're going to get a fresh
Yeah.
chicken. That's it. So how do we? I mean, I see you sent me videos of training that's happening on your farm, and I'm very encouraged because I see young people as part of the audience. But I guess the challenge that we have is to re-educate our young people so that they look at farming and food production as an opportunity and not a punishment, right?
Because a lot of times you find in the commercial farming they usually say, oh, you have to you have to make farming, you have to mechanize farming right now.
Hmm.
But on the same in the same vein, they're telling you you cannot plow the land too often.
Right.
Even now they're telling you zero plowing,
Hmm.
because they realize turning the soil it causes a problem because because the moisture, all the moisture goes into the air, and then when it's rain also, all your nutrients wash out. So
Yeah.
if you plow once, what you do is to go back. What I see that can happen, we work by plots, and if we start to work, we develop a plot. You work on that plot, and then you move to another plot. And one of the things that can help also is crop rotation.
Right.
If you do crop rotation, that is also going to help you to your soil to remain fertile, your soil to the moisture remain. So especially if you plant banana somewhere, you can go back and um put put planted. You put dashing, or you put yams,
Or potatoes. Yeah. Hmm.
you put something that grow underground. If you rip
Hmm.
high underground, you put something that grow in above. So the soil now can recover and rebuild itself, and then you will be able to have as much. Another thing I just thought of the other day, I was in the garden, and that came to my mind. And when something comes to my mind, I always try to see how I can work it around my mind. I realized also, if when you start planting, you can plant a farm, and then you start with banana, then you put in three crops, and when the banana, the banana, the banana
And when you harvest it,
get a place where, yeah, you harvest all the bananas, and then the tree crop take over. I think that I call it sustainable farming, because right now you're
yep.
going to have tree crops that you can
Hmm.
now use that tree crop to sell, and to also also going to help the soil, because all the leaves that fall is going back to create
To the
moisture in
soil.
the soil.
Right.
So what we are looking to what the system that we have to develop, and we have to encourage young people to go into, is that you don't focus on one crop. You focus on as many crops as you can focus on. And the crops that are really people really buy is ground provision. They
Hmm.
buy, a lot of people like fig. I
Hmm.
don't know. People just love fig. You don't know. I don't know if it's because I'm what.
Because it's
I
more
remember
scarce, right?
yeah,
Hmm.
fig. Well, plantain is something I recognize also. People love plantain and they eat a lot of plantain. Then you have and then you have other crops that you can plant like citrus, passion fruit, pineapples, and this kind of thing. So they are crops, and right now we can go into cassava because cassava is going to become a very big industry in time to come. The same cassava, and the best cassava we can use is the sweet cassava, because the sweet cassava I recognize it is dual. You can use it anyhow. It's not going to poison you.
You can make foreign from it.
Yeah, but that make the best foreign, because when you make foreign with the sweet cassava, it doesn't get stale.
Okay.
It doesn't get stale. It remains. And I tell you, I made some foreign from sweet cassava, and for a whole year and more the foreign, just like I make it yesterday.
Wow.
It was very good.
So let's take a break. We're at the bottom of the hour. When we come back, we're going to answer this question that's asking
Yeah.
about the involvement in schools and groups and so on. So we'll be right back, folks. Tonight we're discussing the importance of reviving agriculture to drive our economy, the importance of agriculture in the Dominican economy. And as we see the depression of the economy, we just got an IMF report that's not glowing, and there's some shortcomings. We're thinking that helping to get excitement around agriculture in Dominica will not only have the benefit of more healthy foods, but also give the economy the kickstart that it needs to really gear up and to support activity in Dominica. So let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Presented by. People say I've got a great smile. Well, I have to say, this is all thanks to the professional team at Beacon Dental Group right here in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I've got world-class dental care. Beacon Dental Group has expert and caring staff dedicated to providing the most advanced and satisfactory treatment in all aspects of oral health. Their services are designed to meet your needs and give you a perfect smile, too. General checkups, cosmetic surgery, Gemini laser service, and advanced procedures, all in a state-of-the-art facility. Call or visit Beacon Dental Group today, 1026 Blue Hill Avenue, Dorchester, Massachusetts, or call 617-282-2146 for a smile that lights the world.
Looking to promote your business, engage current customers, and reach new people? Well, look no further. From the basic presentation to a fully fledged advertisement, use your video ads to attract customers. At Man's Audiovisual Productions, we do just that. We produce videos for business and event promotions, product demo videos, animated explainer videos, fundraiser ads, and much more. Engage your clients and sell online. We customize the video to match your brand design. Guaranteed to play flawless on all devices, including smart TVs. Contact us at telephone number 203-690-4342 or 767-245-6238. Visit our website, mansaudiovisual.com, or email us at derekvideo@gmail.com.
Running a radio station shouldn't be chaos. It should be simple, smart, and professional. With Joan Premium, your entire week schedule is beautifully organized and easy to manage. Real-time accuracy keeps your listeners in sync with every show. Your visitors and audience sees the right schedule every time, wherever they are. They can even choose different time zones. From analytics to social media and native app integration, Joan Premium is the professional tool your station deserves. You're never alone. We provide priority support for active license users. We're building a community. Connect with broadcasters worldwide through our Joan Community Hubs. Choose your plan, annual flexibility, or lifetime freedom. Get Joan Premium today. www.gndenterprisesinc.com or call 877-698-9894 for more information.
Welcome back. Welcome back to This Week in Interview, folks. Thanks for staying with us for the break, and thank you to the sponsors. There's a lot of folks who have their own online radio station, and I'm familiar with the Joan product, and there's a lot of raving reviews. You should check it out. Joan Premium. It provides sort of like, if you want to call it an app, that helps you to manage your whole programming. It's called Jock on Air now. All right. So my conversation tonight is with uh, Pastor Adrian Banis, and he is my co-host on this Green Maga, making agriculture great again. Tonight we're discussing the importance of agriculture in the economy. And we talked about Dominica, but the same thing as Grenada or St. Lucia or St. Vincent or Barbados. Those islands with uh, very dynamic economies. Because the economies are smaller, you see results of your actions much quicker than in a larger context like a North American or so on. And so we're saying that using agriculture has so many benefits on so many layers. As an individual, as Adrian says, if you take your farming seriously, you always have money. Like you say, always have money in your pocket. And if you eating healthy, your family is eating healthy, you can generate cash to meet the other parts of your needs. You can help to save. You can generally improve the quality of life in the country that everybody would benefit from. Before the break, one of the members of the audience, Adrian, asked about uh, agriculture, teaching agriculture in schools and in groups like the 4-H Club. So, are you familiar with um, whether agriculture is taught in the schools, if it's taught in a practical way where it's directly applicable, whether at primary school, secondary, or at the college?
Well, agriculture is being taught in the secondary school. I don't know for the primary. They should be teaching agriculture in the primary, but not many students that are attracted to it. Also at the college, because some students came on my farm from the college, and you heard about what? About ten or 11. But we also have developed a summer program every year. We started with one week. This year we're going to have it 2 weeks. We
Right.
got a grant, and then we are working with an organization in the US that goes all over Africa, and also work with farmers out there. Innovate My World, they are called.
Innovate My World. Okay.
Yeah. So we work with them. They work with us, and we work with them. So for 2 years now, we have been training young farmers.
Hmm.
We take those from fourth form and fifth form, how to prune, how to establish a farm. We educate them on different things, and they do a practical. At least they plant either a couple beds, or they plant something on the farm, and then a lot of them, they are very much interested,
Hmm.
and because of that they are motivated, and some of them said that they are going to go into farming when they leave school. And as I always said, in the world, in the times that we are living, you don't have to always, everybody have got to farm the soil. Remember, you can have people farming the soil, but you can have people taking data, people doing research. You can have people working in different areas. You make it a bigger industry than what it was. In
Hmm.
our days, we only had extension, and we had data, but very little data. Even in Dominica today, if you want data for in agriculture, it's difficult to get. So
Hmm.
all these things, record keeping, which is into record keeping, Um, as I said, we are going to set up our training center, and we will look at all these things: record keeping, data management. We will also look at financial management, investment, and so we have also um, we also we also did some work, and we are doing some work in the secondary school where we are training them to do um, boarding and boarding and grafting.
Mm-hmm.
We had a couple sessions with them, and they we are helping them to manage their nursery. So we give them some materials to manage their nursery. So we have been working and doing well with them. Cover
Yeah, he talks about animal feed. So using instead because a lot of times we import animal feed, but you mentioned cassava and you mentioned different things,
corn.
corn. Can we, like you said, there's so many facets and so many aspects of agriculture that
Yeah,
when people think on how on agriculture, you don't only think of planting and harvesting. You think of, like you said, all of the associated services
yeah.
that's required for that. Um, let me. Any thoughts on how we can utilize seaweeds that's infesting our seashores? I know there are some islands who try to turn that into fertilizer. I don't know how successful they are, but I understand the biggest challenge is to, of course, to wash out the salt and the various
And
contaminants from it.
it have a lot of lead in it, so
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to get the lead out because you cannot if you use it as is and the lead is in it will affect the plants and affect your body.
your
But
body.
we are doing some research. I just made contact with a guy from Saint Lucia who said that he used to work for organic factory in doing organic fertilizers and
Hmm.
pesticide. And when I go to St. Lucia, I'm supposed to meet with him because he said that he want to see if he establish in other countries.
Hmm.
Like, so I told him, well, let's supposed to come with Dominica because we have a lot of, let me tell you, when it comes to do organic fertilizers, we have a lot of materials in Dominica, a lot of material. And
Hmm.
some of them we don't even know. We don't even know what we have in our forest, what we have by the roadside. So this is something that we are doing. We are looking forward to do is to see how we can use that same seaweed and to turn it into pesticide and fertilizers. Because I was saying that to him, he told me it's something that we can work with, but we need to have a thing in place to make sure. We need to have what do you call it?
A lab?
At the Bureau of Standard having a lab, a
There's a
lab,
lab. Okay.
and then can we also grow crops? No. Now we are going to look at growing corn because I just spoke also with Mr. Jeff Bellot, who's going to come down to Dominica, and he wants to do a growing corn project in Castle Bruce because he
Hmm.
said Castle Bruce have got the best lands. And this corn that he's going to do is a special corn that we can use it to do feeds. So we
Hmm.
have corn and we will grow cassava. So these are two things that we're going to
Yeah.
work on. I'm just waiting for him to come and bring the seeds so we can start utilizing the land and also having farmers to plant corn, not just we alone doing it, but there's many farmers that we can get to plant corn because if we have a large quantity of corn, we can also export it to places like Grenada that have feed factory. We have I didn't even know Belize have a feed factory. I understand. We have
Right.
Grenada, we have St. Vincent, and I think St. Lucia. I don't know they are trying to put one together. Dominica is looking to build a feed factory, but so what we have to do is to see how we can get that corn being planted, and then we can put it together. Yes, we are going to work on that seaweed to get it into fertilizer. Trust me, I'm going to work on it. I remember earlier when the seaweed started coming, I took some and I started doing fertilizer and pesticide. And I took it, I wash it up, and I dry it up, and I put it there. And then I grew some Irish potato, white potatoes.
Hmm.
And the white potatoes, when they reach a certain stage, because you must give it white potato, that's why I'm not planting it, because you have to use too much chemical to
Oh, I see.
control it.
Hmm.
And so I don't want to really get myself involved in chemicals. So I say, well, let me see if I use the natural, what can happen. So I took, when I saw it was dying, so I took the seaweed and I put in it.
Hmm.
When I put the seaweed in the white potato, by a couple of days, white potato will start to
Oh,
bloom.
really? Wow.
Will start to bloom. I say, wow. When I harvest, just a couple of seeds I had, I harvest a pail full. And so I went to the ministry and I told them the seaweed is a good pesticide fertilizer, because remember, you can use one. If you use it, you don't have to go and use pesticide and use fertilizer.
Hmm.
It does both.
Does both. Okay.
So I told them, well, let us take the seaweed and see how we can do some experiment and we can develop the seaweed. But up to now, I've never heard not a word from these guys.
And the thing about it is that one of the biggest challenges some of these people have is to be able to wash it. But with the abundance of fresh water that we have in
No,
Dominica,
but that's easy to work. We have a
it
lot. We
should
have
be
a lot of rain too.
it should be pretty easy to wash the salt
Yeah,
out
because we have a lot of
of the
rain.
seaweeds. Yeah. So so what we I guess what we're demonstrating is how exciting agriculture can be.
Yeah,
There are
yeah,
so many questions to ask and puzzles to solve, and at the same time, you're getting rewards. I did agricultural science in high school, and of course, being from Castlebrooks, we do our farming and our gardening. One of the things I understand is that um, they grow a lot of cassava. I cannot remember which country in Africa does it, and
I think
they
it's in
turn it
Ghana. You know.
they turn it into chips
Yeah,
and they export it to Denmark, and Denmark uses it to feed their dairy, their cows, and they have the data to show significant increase
mhm,
in the yield of milk from from the cattle that's fed on cassava, and it is a more calorie dense food than the corn in livestock production. And Castlebrooks is close to the Carib Territory. The Carib Territory is known for cassava. There's so much opportunity to collaborate. Some people plant cassava, sell it to the people who are making the feed. The feed gets sold to the farmers that are growing
yeah,
the animals. The animals get sold to people who eat, and you just have that whole cycle where
and then
almost everybody can participate.
you can do cassava flour. You can do cassava. You can do
Cassava bread. There's this guy that
cassava
does all kinds
bread.
of things with cassava, right?
There are so many things that we
Yeah,
can do. We can develop a self-sustainable agriculture where we don't even have to import stuff.
yeah.
I'm telling you.
And then
I can tell you, I
you
can
have the
live without
meals.
going and why are we buying macaroni and buying all that rice and that sugar? I mean sugar cane, man. I remember growing up. That's why we are strong. We are still strong today. You know. Our parents would make a good viso every Sunday. Make a nice viso with cocoa with coconut. Eh?
Yeah, yeah. And so the question that we ask is how do and the way to reviving it is through the young people.
Yeah,
And so the helping them to be in organizations and being able to collaborate and work with each other and trust each other. Because there's something that you said at the start of the program, that there's mistrust. You didn't say it in that way, but there's mistrust.
yeah,
Where when you try to do an enterprise with someone and everybody is sort of on guard.
right.
Again, it comes from our history of enslavement,
Yeah,
because that is one of the techniques that was used against us to pit us against each other, so that we don't trust each other, and therefore we cannot plan a revolt together and we cannot thrive together. But But we're far enough away from that in terms of time that and generations that we can start to reverse.
Yeah, of
We start to
course.
reverse that thing. I went to the supermarket this morning and I saw something on the shelf called Kako Nibs and NIB Kako
Mm,
Nibs. And so I bought it out of curiosity. I just bought it because I
yeah.
thought it was. I'm always drinking kako, something kako. So I said, okay, I probably can just dissolve it in my coffee and hot water or whatever. You know, these guys like after they peel the kako seeds, maybe after they use whatever technique they use to grind or whatever, the it looks like the dregs, whatever that's left over, little bits of the
All
cocoa
the little
tree,
pieces.
the little pieces. So it even have some of the skin in it still, right?
Hmm.
That it's not roasted. It's not pong. It just crush up in little bits. I put it in water. It's not melting. It's just like you just take if you take a cacao seed and you pong it and you put it in a bag and it's selling for $8 US for it, it,
So
it
they show
was
you
it
how to
was
use it. They show you how to use it.
they have recipes on there, but
Oh,
I'm familiar with cacao. I don't know how it would. You can only use it as a topping. So what I did was I made some milk. I put it in the milk, and I just threw it. Right. Surprisingly, it wasn't bitter. So I guess maybe it was well fermented or whatever. It wasn't bitter. So I just threw it and but because in hot water not touching it, it's just sitting there. It's just sitting there. So what I'm saying is that but it's in a pretty packaging, very, very pretty
mm.
packaging. And there's a lot of information on the package. And
I saw it. I saw the pictures
I
involved.
sent it to you, yeah.
Yeah.
$8 US for a little
Uh,
pouch that looks like less than it wasn't even a quarter pound. It was yeah. Just a little pouch. So there are opportunities
a
for
lot of
somebody to
opportunities.
look at that and say, I can do better than that. I can take our cacao sticks and just grind it coarse, not fine like how we do to make cacao tea. Just have it like in little chunks, and it sells as cocoa nibs, and people put great value on that because things like cacao is now people discovering the health benefits. Some I've been saying from what
Yes.
Mr. Banis is saying, there
Yeah.
is as well, Tony, the capacity exists in Dominica to develop agriculture into a sustainable business, not just business, industry.
Yes. Industry. Now I'm going to just share with him how that can be done. That's why we are looking at the agroforestry model. So where you plant literally everything on the farm,
Mhm.
but you make sure that you have things like cocoa, you have avocado, you have citrus, you have
Passion
exotic,
fruit, yeah.
you have passion fruit. And then what we do, we also set uh, a place where you can process. So all your after you sell fresh, all your borderline or your let's say market is flooding, you process.
Hmm.
And then when you are processing, that is where the money is in added value.
Added value.
Added value. So we add value. You don't just plant, harvest, sell fresh produce, but you also add value to all your fresh produce because you can come up with so many different products. Pineapple, you can do dry pineapple, you can do pineapple wine, you can do a lot of different things with pineapple. Even um cucumbers. You
Hmm.
can do cucumber, you can do pickles.
Right.
You also can dry the cucumber and have it there. And the thing is that we do not like to explore or like to think outside the box. And if you have one thing I always say, God give us a brain. And if He gives us the brain, we have to use the brain. We can't go back into the grave with 70% use of your brain. You only use 70% or 60%. One night, so I told my family, I have to use 99, at least 97% of my brain before I die. And they started laughing at me. That cannot happen. How it cannot happen? You see, Anytime you begin to think of something cannot, you will not go. You will not go for it. But so many things that you can do in order for you to develop agriculture. All we need to do is to ensure that we leave a legacy where we keep training the other generation. And as we go along, new ideas will come as we move forward. And we'll be able to develop new things. That's why I lament over our students when they go to university and they study chemistry and biology, and when they come back, either they go and become doctors. And I'm not saying that is wrong, but I'm saying our chemists should come back and not just look onto the government for work, but what they should do is go into the mountains, go walk around, get all the bush that is there, the bush that our parents used to use. And there are today people talking about, I never know guava leaf was so potent. Even
Ma-
even
mango leaf,
mango leaf,
hmm
breadfruit leaf,
breadfruit leaf,
what we call that one, soursop. Look now,
soursop leaf.
soursop becomes a huge industry.
Yep.
Look, I'm going. Look, someone is asking me if I can plant soursop for them, just supply them with soursop because they want to develop medicinal things. Soursop, and not too long I saw something that called soursop. It's a drink. It's like a drink in a bottle.
hmm hmm
Okay. But sometimes I don't trust these things because remember they put in all kind of sugars in it, all kind of different. So, Mr. Alvin, we can develop a massive industry in Dominica. And I always say we don't, I always say we depend upon the government too much as private sector people. We want the government to give us everything. But we have to understand we have to run our business. We have to take charge of our business. That's why if 10, 15 of us can come together and create an industry, we don't have to allow the government to come and become our boss, or we reach a place where we just depend on the government. We have to come and invest our money and make our money and make money and manage our agriculture, manage our business.
Yeah. The the other aspect of it is that if we don't utilize the land, people are going to come and buy it literally from under us.
But that's what is happening now.
Yeah. And
You know the amount of people that come in and buy land in Grenada, they tell me.
yeah,
There are people flooding Grenada, you are buying land and land
and,
is cheap in Grenada. Dominica people come in, a lady came there not too long, a white lady, and she was going crazy. She said she want land to buy, she going everywhere. The lady got a good spot in Deepa,
wow.
and just buy that, it have a house on it. The person died, and she bought the whole place.
Mm,
People are looking for land to buy, everyone, and it seems to me now people like Castlebrooks.
right.
I realize they like Castlebrooks because of the view
hmm
and because of
The bay, and
an
you have a
access,
nice wind blowing and
an
access, right?
access.
It's not far. It's close to the airport and all of that.
And you
Yeah.
don't have to climb hills and mountains to go to your farm.
Right. Right. So I think we've been able to establish that, you know, our our agriculture needs to be revived, right?
Yes,
Our agriculture needs to be revived, and it can become the engine of our sustenance, of our economy, because we will feed ourselves. We know what we're eating because we grow it. We know what we put in the soil. I- we develop agro processing, so our young people can now get employment as electricians, as mechanics, as drivers, as extension of whether you name it, chemists, biologists, um, salespeople,
yeah, we all have a part to play.
research
Everybody
people.
have a part to play.
As Billy Sanderson said, agriculture is one of the most diversified discipline because
Yeah,
everything can touch it, right? But so the answer, I guess, is, as you said, if the government is not including it in the curriculum, we can find ventures like what you are doing on your farm,
Yeah.
creating training centers, bringing experts in, because I saw you sent some photos where you had these folks in teaching young people how to graft,
Yeah.
you know,
Then
and
we had
showing them
Ika.
that agriculture is not just working hard digging the soil and
Ika
carrying
came
loads.
and do a nice session with us.
Well, that was Ika, okay.
Yeah. And there were so many persons there.
It's Alvin said you want to see you would really like to have you go back to what we can really do to excite and get high schoolers in agriculture. What to do to make it appealing. I think it's just to engage them.
Yeah,
When I was
well, yeah.
when I was in Castleberry School, I was a member of the 4-H club, and we had a local plot right there by the police station. And just the sheer excitement of planting something and watching it grow and harvesting it is joy, you know. And then if
But
you add more skills to it, it's even better. Go ahead.
probably didn't hear, maybe he came in late because I said that number one, we are doing a summer program every year. We started with 2 years from now, 1 week, but this year we are going to have 2 weeks where we are going to teach them, train them, and help and all the different aspects in agriculture. They will be on the farm, so they'll be able to do practical work. And then we are going to develop one product with them or two products. So when they are going home, they go with a product. So
Mm,
that will give them the motivation to say, boy, I can see right now, I can understand how agriculture can take us to a young place. And we use people from students from the secondary schools for form, fifth form, and then we are now going to partner with the college.
mhm.
And what we're going to do is to see how we can establish an agroforestry system on the college in the college
As part of their curriculum.
yeah, in the garden, and also part of
Mhm,
their curriculum.
mhm.
We're going to see how we can work with them. And so the college came and visit, and they were very impressed. And because of that, we write up a MOU to see how we can work along with them.
That's excellent.
Also, we have persons coming from different universities, from the US, from Canada, from different places, neighboring country like Guadeloupe and Martinique. And as we continue to grow and expand, we will see more people coming in the coming years. Because when you have the training center, look, we getting clients and we getting people that are interested not just in Dominica, but in the Caribbean and also in Africa and these different places. Because it seems like Africans want to come and learn what we are doing here, and to see how they can integrate with what we are doing. So, Mr. Alvin, we are really trying our best as a private entity to ensure that we assist in the development of our country. And so we are not going to leave it for just the government to do, but we're going to play our part, and we want to ensure that we continue the legacy.
And of course, don't forget that you are also demonstrating the processing of the primary
Yeah,
agricultural products into, because what it does is it extends the shelf life.
yeah,
It makes it more convenient. You can pick up a packet of chips or a sack of breadfruit flour. It also makes the product available off season, so to speak. So
yeah.
so you have soursop when it's not soursop season, or and to even
Passion fruit.
experiment
We are
with
passion fruit, we're in a passion fruit
when it's
season
not
because
passion
we
fruit
do
season.
pulp.
You pulp it exactly,
You have sorrel, you can have sorrel year round.
right, because you dry it. Yeah.
Yeah,
So let's see, getting another question from the others. Agriculture have to depend on government's intervention. So that's exactly what you were talking about. Is to do it without the government intervention. Government can facilitate it, but we should be able to operate our business um, as a
independent.
business as that
Yeah,
sustains itself, right?
that's why if persons would like to invest, this also an opportunity that you can come and invest, and you can also contribute You can't come, you can't be on event, but you can invest, and that will also help you to get returns as the industry grow.
Mhm.
And with that, we are not only looking at added value, but we are also looking at agritourism, that
Mhm.
you're going to have people coming. I am developing a thing right now, a meal that I call it wood food. We're going to cook only on wood, like how it used to be done before. So when you come, you're going to get food cooked on wood, and that in itself is going to be like
An experience.
yeah, it's an
Yeah.
experience.
Because you harvest the food, you see it being cooked, you understand the recipe,
Right.
and you sit and you eat and have that experience. And Dominica is just great for that because most of our places
Yeah.
have wonderful views, or you're next to a river, or you're on a mountain, or so just sitting in that environment, enjoying a meal that you help to harvest. It
And
itself is
instead of you use plates, use calabash.
just calabash, yeah. And that, yeah, it's to make it's an experience.
Yes.
That is what tourism is now. Is somebody wants to have an experience. It's like they say, it's not so much what you tell people, is how you make them feel. And that experience is speaking to how they feel that they're going to have that vacation, and they will be sitting in the nursing home at 95 and remember in the time that they spent
Right.
in Dominica. And so agrotourism again is another aspect of that. But we've exhausted our hour. I think we've demonstrated how important agriculture can be. When you look at the other activities that's happening in the economy that independent of agriculture, for example, the CBI program and those other programs, they don't quite contribute in the same way. For one, they don't generate the level of employment. Um,
Right.
for the local people, the money doesn't seem to filter down to the community, and people don't feel an ownership to it because, as opposed to somebody who is providing services to a farm, or somebody who's working on a farm, or somebody who's buying food from a farm. So it has the potential to motivate folks and to get them excited. So let's have some closing remarks, I think it was a wonderful conversation.
Farm to table, man. Meals prepared on
And
firewood.
I will. Oh, yeah.
Because when a food it's a real different taste, when you cook a food in the garden and
hmm
you cook a food at home on a stove. I mean, I can tell you, I always enjoy a garden food, my brother. The taste when you come and you cook a food on a stove, it is so different. Okay. Yes, so I just want to say to you out there, especially those of you who are Dominican and you are living in the diaspora, whatever way you can support us, give us the support. Sometimes we think it's only money, but just what you shared tonight on the program, that's a big encouragement for me to know that there are people listening, and is encouraging us to move forward and to grow what we have. And that is what we want to do, is to grow an industry that is sustainable and one that also persons can enjoy. Somebody can just come and say, okay, I want a pack of um, dry
Sorrel or
pineapple, dry pineapple
pineapple.
or dry sorrel. We can make our own snacks.
Hmm
Our
Healthy
own
snacks.
healthy snacks. You don't have to put sugar in it. You have it sugar already. It's just to get the right method to have it, and you package it. And there are so many other things that we can. So you have your own local eggs, you have your local chicken, and if your local chicken, you can do smoked chicken. You can cut necks and do all kinds of things. You can freeze them, and you can. There are so many, but the thing is that most times we are not really looking to develop what we have. We'll rather go and try to develop what someone have because we are getting a salary. Not after we work for a month. But when you start, I'm not saying you cannot go and work for people, but once you're working, you need to start off something that will, when you live there, you're going to start again, but you continue to develop and to grow what you have. So this is my encouragement to you. If you would like to talk to me, you can reach me at 1767-245-1460. I know there are so many persons that have learned. You are living in the diaspora and you have learned in Dominica. This is a perfect opportunity. We can assist you. We have a consulting, agricultural consulting company where we can come and we can help you establish your farm. We can help you in a lot of things, product development, in all kind of different things. So I want to again, you can email me at I have a couple email address. You can just email me at a simple one, augustusbanis@gmail.com. You can email me, and also if you would like to come and have a tour, you're coming to Dominica, you'd like a tour, you can book with us and you can come and have and spend some time and see what we are doing and enjoy what we are doing. And you are going to see we are not just talking, but also we are setting up a model that when you come, you can see and you can experience what we are talking about.
Yeah, a couple of things before we go. Somebody just texted me and reminded me that if we can talk about what's affecting the coconut industry, because somebody talked about government, that if we can develop agriculture without government intervention, and my response was, well, yes, but government has to provide some facilitation, some emphasis, and so um, policies as well. We have to protect our agriculture. Even in you come to the US, when you come back, they ask you, did you visit a farm while you were out, and so on. If you bring any kind of stuff, it has to be cooked, or you have to have a certificate saying that it was examined and you're not bringing any diseases. And so we understand that there is some kind of disease that's affecting our coconuts, and it it seems like maybe it came in from outside of the country. Do you have any specific information that, because somebody was curious and just text and ask about that?
Yes, it came from outside
Mm,
because that's why I am now helping CrossQ, which is the Caribbean. They like the Bureau of Standard, but
mm,
they are the organization, the main organization in the region. So they are
mm.
working with all the Bureau of Standards in the different countries, and so we are developing a um, my gosh, a
Protocol,
document,
a
a
document, okay.
document
Mm-hmm,
on standard coconut standard.
mm-hmm,
And one thing that I was sharing with them is they are talking about tissue culture. I'm just trying to now when
mm-hmm,
now the guy said you have a degree, you have a degree in hybrid coconuts. So now I can explain the hybrid. Now how he explained the hybrid. You take the coconut and you take a hybrid coconut. You take one coconut, and when you finish, you take another one and you put them together. It's like
mm-hmm,
a clone.
mm-hmm,
And then when they start growing, and then you plant it, it grow. You are not going to get a hybrid. You are going to get what? A brother or a sister, because when the coconut reach up the place where it it grow and it begin to bear, and you take the dry coconut, like before we take a dry coconut from a tree and get the same thing.
mm-hmm.
What he says is that when you take the dry coconut and then the dry coconut grow, the father leaves the mother, so you get a different coconut.
Variety.
So I was saying to him, that's what is happening. That's what is happening to us today. When you bring these things from the lab and you bring them into the habitat, in the environment, what is going to happen is that's we're going to get all the diseases multiplying.
Mm-hmm,
Now he said, well, since creation that is happening, they're doing hybrids. Since in creation, they're doing tissue culture. I say, okay, my brother. But when you go and you buy a plant, in Brazil, or you buy plants from Costa Rica and these places. These plants are having, although they grow them in certified nurseries and lab, but I realize when they come and they change habitat, they have to remember they have to acclimatize themselves. They have to restart again.
Hmm.
And sometimes that's where they get diseases. For instance, they bring some plants come from. I know they're going to say, well, it's not that do that, but we never had leaf yellowing. Now they brought some plants from Brazil. They're calling it the Brazil dwarf nut.
Hmm.
And when the plants came, while the plant was in the nursery, the plant developed a disease. And that disease is a deadly disease. It just cut in the head and killed it. They did some research. They sent it into the lab. They sent it to Martinique. Martinique said they could not find it. They sent it to Miami. Miami said this is a real terrible disease. So anyway, the quarantine officer at the time told them to destroy it. They refused to destroy it. Now they plant most of it on the north. Now it's planted on the north, and now all of a sudden you have an outbreak of leaf yellow on the north.
And enough. Mm.
Now they will say it come from neighboring country, but these things, what they do, they affect. The first thing they affect is palm trees.
Hmm.
And anytime you have palm trees in the midst of coconut tree, you're going to get, and once it hit the palm, it will affect the coconut.
Hmm.
Anyway, they said they have it under control, so we're going to see
We'll see.
what is
Okay.
happening. But this is something that we have to really be careful in importing plants from other countries, because we
You have
never
to
know
be
what
very
we are
strict.
importing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you never know what you are importing, because sometimes as a technocrat, or you are quarantine officer, you probably you give all the rules and regulations, but there is just one thing the person didn't do. Or I remember they were bringing another container of coconut plants from Costa Rica. When it reached in Dominican Republic, they went and checked it and to make sure it is okay. They found one worm in one, and they said that if they had ever bring that to Dominica, it would wipe out our coconut industry. And they
Wow.
just burned the container
They burn the container of coconut.
right
Wow.
in Dominican Republic. So persons may not want to hear, that's what persons they may not want to hear the truth, or they may say, well, but I have been in the coconut industry for the longest time. I've been there. And I remember after Hurricane Maria, I told them, we have the nursery, all we have to do is to select the plants, the nuts, and we can have our own. They tell me nothing doing. We don't want the local coconut.
Wow. Why you get it too tall or something? Or?
No, what they say is that you don't know if you take a plant of coconut, you don't know, maybe the coconut tree, the mother, maybe used to make around 10 or 15, the coconut will make the same amount. When I in my research and study, even though you take it from whatever tree you take it, you once you plant it in the right moon, you're going to get the yield.
Mhm.
The right moon, we are going to get the yields.
All right. So I
Well,
think
you
we've
know, my
dealt,
brother,
I,
that's
I I think we've dealt with that. There's a lot of our institutions and our systems and protocols are finding challenges in implementation. And so we used to have officers that were strong. I mean, forest guards, we had just quarantine people, and they were tough. Now I guess toughness is not rewarded.
it's the politics
So
that change everything,
so it's
the
the
politics.
politics, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that is destroying our everything that we have, the politics.
yeah.
Nobody wants to do what is right anymore. Everybody wants to do things for their own gain. And so
I want to answer this question before we go, and then we'll wrap up. He's asking, while Dominica has proper environment, one of the major problems is yield. There are markets available, but supply is not consistent. How can this be arranged? I'm a little bit in a unique position to answer that because in 1999, 2000, um, I had a company in Dominica, and we were writing code software for various businesses. And one of the projects that we were engaged for by the prime unit of Dominica was to develop a agriculture information system. And what we were the approach that we were taking was, as in 1999, was that we will start with data. So you do an analysis, a survey of the various lands, and you know which lands are suited for dashing, planting, potato, cassava, whatever, based on rainfall, based on soil type, so on and so on. But you also, another aspect of it was contract farming, where you, before the farmer plants, or while the farmer is planting, you enter into a contract with the farmer to guarantee him that you're going to purchase all of his yield, all of what he produces, you will purchase it. Because the farmer wants to know that when he plants and he harvests, he has a market. The market wants to know that there's a steady supply. So somebody in the middle has to be able to broker that deal where a farmer can plant with confidence and a market can depend on your supply as being reliable. And so that is where the answer to your question lies, because if you imagine the progress of technology from 1999 to now, it's even easier to communicate and to have those arrangements together. So the answer is contract farming. That if somebody has 5 acres of dashing, you contract to that farmer that you get that 5 acres of dashing. You can even make arrangements ahead of time where you assist him in maybe some upfront money so he can get his input, some labor and whatever. And then when the time comes, you purchase it from him and you offset. There are different ways of doing that. Again, from I hope you on that the theme that I got from tonight's discussion with Adrian is that we have to plan our agriculture more deliberately. We have to be able to plan and strategize and not just do it ad hoc where you're expecting a farmer to have dashing for you because you have a market, and a huckster pass on Saturday and offer him
Right.
50 cents more, and you sell it to the huckster instead. And now you cannot supply the market crashes. Your farmer goes, he plants more dashing, the huckster doesn't pass, he come to you, but you can no longer buy it from him because you no longer have the market, because you could not have reliable supply to the market. So those kind of issues are issues that has been grappled with. The answers are there. It will just take a little bit of management, a little bit of data, and as we said, um, working with folks so that our trust level with each other can can grow and solidify with each transaction. So Claytonic, I hope I answered your question, but that is where the answer lies. It has to be in something that's called contract farming. So again, I know I asked you to do closing remarks, but we've handled a few more things in between. But we can close up now. It's almost 9:30,
Yeah.
and farmers go to bed early, so let me release you. So thank you for coming on, Adrian. I think this was a very very important discussion, and folks can contact you. I put his phone number and his email address in the chat. So if you go into Dominica, you don't have to have any intention and no obligation. Just contact him, go to Casarus, and you'll be amazed at what you see he's doing with his farm. He and his family are doing with their farm. So, Adrian, you can have closing remarks if you want to, and then we can sign off.
When I close, I give my closing
You give your
remarks already.
all right. So I guess it's just to wish you all the best in all your endeavors and to encourage people to contact you. If you have a few dollars
Yeah,
lying
yeah.
around, Adrian says that he can help you to invest it so you make a return. If you have some land available that is idle, even if it's not idle, you can also contact him, and he can help put together a plan for you that will show you how to get some yield from the land and to keep your land viable and active. So, folks, I really enjoyed tonight's conversation. You participated so much. All the comments were great comments. They really drove the conversation, um, and and that kind of activity, that kind of interest, we really like. And it's not just talking, sir. As people say, we like to talk, talk, talk. Action is actually happening on the ground. When you go to, if you're in Dominica, go to Castrovers and check out Barney's Farms, and you'll see what we're talking about. Thank you, Alvin. Alvin is in another great program, and he's wishing you all the best. So, folks, good night, and we will do this again next week, Wednesday, another episode of This Week in Interview with your host and guide, Anthony Drago. And next week, most likely, we'll have Alex Bruno. He comes on and we talk some politics, some economics, some social stuff, and so on. Um, just as interesting. So, a good night, everyone. And if you are in the U.S., enjoy the fine weather. Those of you who have birthdays or celebrations, anniversaries, congratulations, and all the best. We'll see you next week, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Another episode of This Week in Interview. Good night.